There's a large battle brewing in the trucking industry right now between two major players. Those players are Yellow and the Teamsters. Here's what's going on in that battle and why it's getting ugly. This video is sponsored by GP Transco. Yellow is a very old and very large carrier. They started in 1929. They're an LTL carrier, and they got huge by accumulating other LTL carriers through acquisition. Now, this accumulation built the company up very quickly, but it was very inefficient financially because they ended up with duplicate terminals in many cities all across the United States. And as an example, Cincinnati has two terminals side by side under different divisions, both doing the same work. So it's possible for one skid to be delivered from one terminal to a customer, then be followed by another skid from the terminal next door to that same customer. They are the height of inefficiency when it comes to carriers. Yellow has been losing money since 2009. Currently, they are $1.5 billion in debt. Part of the reason they've been able to survive this long is because they've been propped up and supported by the Teamsters. The Teamsters have foregone all sorts of pay raises just to help keep Yellow afloat. Recently, Yellow's latest plan to help stay afloat is to consolidate terminals, those redundant terminals, and shrink and lose 24 of those redundant terminals just to try to get more efficient. However, the problem there is that it means driver layoffs, lower driver wages, or Teamsters relocating to be able to continue to work. And the Teamsters aren't happy with that. Yellow's latest plan for reconsolidation to survive is called Yellow One, but the Teamsters have already had enough, and they're not about to agree to a plan that would cost their drivers jobs or cause them to relocate or cause a change in their job description, requiring drivers to unload and load their own freight or work on the dock for less money. The Teamsters have a new president, Sean O'Brien, and he's known as a tough negotiator. He's already looking at negotiations this year with T-Force and UPS, and he's recently won a really good contract with ABF unionized drivers who are a competitor of Yellow. They came out of that contract, the union did, with increased pay wages and increased benefits. So it makes Yellow look even more incompetent as an LTL competitor, asking their drivers to take layoffs and pay cuts. Now, the Teamsters have problems of their own. Their numbers have been shrinking since 1980 under deregulation, to the point that today they're a shadow of their former self. O'Brien wants to rebuild those numbers, rebuild the pay, give the Teamsters back the power they used to enjoy, and he doesn't see caving into Yellow as part of a good plan to achieve that end goal. If Yellow does not come to terms with the Teamsters, it could mean the end of that company. They're so desperate, in fact, that Yellow recently filed a lawsuit for $137 million against the Teamsters, and they're suing the Teamsters for not propping up their latest business plan. If Yellow does fold, everybody loses. 22,000 drivers will lose their jobs. The U.S. government will lose the bulk of $700 million they lent Yellow to keep them going in 2020 that they haven't paid back. Yellow is a publicly traded company, so their shareholders will lose. And their CEO, Darren Hawkins, who's been mismanaging this multi-million-dollar fiasco, will lose his $1 million plus salary for his inefficient management skills. Now, I'm on the fence as to which way I hope to see this battle go. I believe that modern day trucking needs the Teamsters, and they need the Teamsters because the mega carriers so poorly treat and pay their drivers. Having said that, let me qualify that statement. I don't believe all company drivers need to be unionized. There are small carriers out there that still pay their drivers well, treat them respectfully. Those drivers don't need a union to represent them. the company, the carrier, is already doing a good job of taking care of them. One carrier that does not need a union for its drivers is GP Transco. GP Transco pays their first-year drivers between $80,000 and $95,000 a year. Those are W-2 drivers with full benefits, a 401k with a match. They're treated respectfully. They run new equipment. They've got it made. GP Transco hires owner-operators as well. Check them out at gptransco.com. I don't believe that governments and therefore taxpayers should be bailing out companies. That's not how business works. If the business can't survive financially on its own, it needs to go under. And it's not like there'll be a big loss here, because if Yellow does go under, all those freight contracts that they have will simply move to other carriers. That freight will still keep moving, and the drivers that have been laid off from Yellow can simply go to ABF or whoever else gets the contracts for this freight. No matter how this battle turns out, whether it's the Teamsters or whether it's Yellow, it's going to be interesting to watch. Yellow is claiming now that they will run out of money in July if they don't get some sort of a settlement with the Teamsters or get some sort of an agreement or loan from the government or the bank. Either way, it's going to be interesting, and I'll be watching. Stay safe. As I said earlier, I'm not sure who I want to win this battle, but either way, it's going to have ramifications into the future. Keep the rubber side down, and I'll see you on the backhaul.